Incoming transmission.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas!
Welcome, Watchers of Illusion, to my Castle of Confusion on the 5th of December. I'm looking at Rampage on the Amstrad. Never played this version before, so it'd be interesting to see what it's like, considering the Spectrum had nice, big, bold graphics, very similar to the arcade. So let's see what the Amstrad has to offer. First of all, you can probably hear it has a soundtrack, which is new. And this was... multiplayer, so I'm assuming you can play all three. Now, it's put me as Ralph, and I'm not sure why. Normally the default is George, but it's put me as Ralph, which is cool, because I quite like Ralph. Ralph is a werewolf, who you can't really go wrong with that, can you? But, okay, so it does start with all three, and two of them are AI controlled, just so you know. I've got to say, I like the colour scheme. I like the fact that it is colourful. Amstrad always had that. Now, there are a couple of things that I've already noticed. One is the music's probably going to drive me nuts by the end of this. And the other thing is that it's not quite as... I don't know. I think this would have looked ace if it was the Spectrum graphics with the Amstrad colour scheme. I think that would have been quite nice. The buildings don't seem to have the damage either that the Spectrum manages to introduce. And I am comparing it to the Spectrum because the Spectrum and Amstrad were fairly close back in the day. Now, the other thing I can't seem to do is climb down the building, which was quite easy to do on the Spectrum version as well. So I'm just going to fall off and hurt my arse. So there we go. The other two don't seem to be doing much. Climbing up buildings is a bit of a hit and miss affair as well, actually. You've got to be placed pretty much spot on where you want to be. Ralph's eating something there. I don't even know what he was eating. Never mind. Yeah, it's very precision. So the best way, I think, is to basically try and jump and then press up, and you'll sort of attach yourself to the building. It's a shame because the characters had such, well, exactly that character on the Specky version. I think the Spectrum was incredibly close to the arcade, which was a feat in itself, really, considering the Spectrum's limitations. I do like the graphics on this, though, however. I think they are good. I just think the main characters could look better. They don't look very much like the arcade version to me, but then, you know, some people might like this version better, I don't know. I think the Specky did it better, personally, but that's just my personal opinion, of course. It's not gospel, so there we go. But yeah, it's alright, it's not too bad. It's a bit sluggish, it doesn't play very quickly, as you can tell. The Specky version obviously was fairly fluent, but let's go. Oh, see, Ralph can zip along at quite a speed there, which is ironic, considering what I've just said, but never mind. But yeah, I don't know. It says you can have up to 3 players on this, but I'm not sure how you do that. I'm playing on joystick at the moment, so I'm guessing the other 2 would be keys. But there didn't seem to be any options to actually do anything to get other players to redefine the keys or anything, so I'm guessing there'll be something in the options or something that in the manual that would say, but unfortunately I don't have access to that, but never mind. But I'm just going on what I can see and hear at the moment. The music, I think, is slowly driving me insane, so I think you'd probably want to switch that off if you could. And if you can't, then you're probably just going to have to mute your television speakers, because obviously the Amstrad, I think it had a volume switch on the side. In fact, I know some models had, I think, no, that's the headphone. Never mind. The Amstrad, it's quite an interesting setup as well, because if you had an Amstrad, you'll know that it came complete with monitor, which was basically the power base, and you either had a green screen or you had a full colour. Now, who was lucky enough to have a full colour Amstrad from day one? I remember playing Batman, the puzzle adventure game, on a green screen. That was interesting, but yeah, the colour monitors are far better. They're quite bulky and heavy now. I don't know if any of you got an Amstrad or played an Amstrad, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But it does a decent job with colour in games. That's probably one thing I will say, that it does bring a good colour scheme to the games. And, well, the characters are zipping around a bit. It's when they get to a building and get onto a building they start to slow down a bit. You can see George is about to lose all his health there, so I don't know, he's not going to last much longer now. I think going in water hurts you as well on this version, whereas the Spectrum version had bridges that you could just walk across and no damage whatsoever. But this version, and you can't do back smash, no way. On the, I'm going to keep saying this across this entire review, but on the Specky version, if you did that back smash, you'd actually punch a hole in the building behind you. I don't know why these things have been omitted, really. It's a bit of a shame, but never mind. It does take away a little bit of the game for me, I'm afraid. But never mind. The game itself is still very playable and has all 3 characters intact, which is always nice to see. So there we go. I think we've lost George and Lizzie, and I don't think I'm going to last much longer, judging by my health. But I suppose the replay factor is here. So if you wanted to play it over and over again, I guess it would be entertaining. Just that music, you'd need to turn that off somehow. So, but other than that, I think they've kept most of the elements in place. It just doesn't hit all those tick boxes for me, unfortunately, having played the Specky version and the arcade version. And I think I just died by jumping in the water. So I'll give it another blast, and we'll see where we go from there. But I'm going to be wrapping up the review shortly, but let's give it another couple of minutes of gameplay, just so we can get round a couple of the other issues that I've got. And let's see how we get on. So we've basically hit any key or the fire button. Oh, there we go. There's the keys there. Sorry, they were on the screen. I was a bit hasty pushing my fire button to start, but never mind. They are there. You can have all 3 players. Right. So the other thing that I've got to say is that the damage on the buildings, and I did mention this briefly at the start of the video, but the damage here, you can't really see the items. So on the arcade and Specky, if you punched a big hole in the building, you basically had items that you could eat. Now you can see there I was just eating a chicken, at least that's what I think it was, but it's not obvious that they're there. And when you punch a hole in the building, it just looks like one of the windows have just opened, which they are actually doing without you punching them anyway. But that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like there's been any sort of damage made to the building itself, which is a bit of a shame, considering that's what this game is all about. You're meant to be on a rampage and actually doing some damage. So I've got to tip my hat to the Specky version, which I have actually reviewed on this channel. So if you want to have a look at that, go back through and have a look, or just do a search on videos, and you should be able to find my Rampage reviews. I think I've done the arcade version and the Spectrum version, so the Amstrad version is today's entry into that. It's a bit disappointing, but it's by certainly no means the worst version I've ever played. It's just I don't know. It seems to be done by a different development team. It could well be that is the case. I'm just going to punch George because he's getting in my way. I just punched him to the other side of the screen. That's quite impressive. But yeah, I think if you enjoy the game, I think having a couple of mates round and all cuddled round the keyboard, I think would be a bit of a laugh, to be honest. I think there was, and on the C64, I think there were 2 versions on the C64, and one of them only had you playing as George, and they tried to make him a bit more of an upright gorilla, which was a bit strange. But you've got to stick with the 3-player. Don't stray away from this formula. It works, and no matter what my reservations are with this, I think it would still be a good laugh to get 3 of you kicking the crap out of buildings for and having some beers and whatever. I think it's worth your time. I just think it could have been just a bit better if it had the big gorgeous graphics the Specky had with this colour scheme. It would just be a complete winner. It's just nice to see, I suppose, that George, Lizzie and Ralph are individually graphic. They've got their own individual graphics, and you can see that, so you can pick out who George, Lizzie and Ralph actually are, which I think is quite nice as well. Now imagine if they remade this game for 2018 with the movies graphics. Yes, anyone see that, by the way? With the Rock? Did anyone see Rampage? What did you think? Leave me a comment. I thought it was alright, but there you go. Not a patch on the game, by the way. But there you go. So yes, this has been Rampage. I've been Rich. This has been the Retro Revival Show. Hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you very much for tuning in and keeping my channel going. It's very, very good of you. And some interesting conversations been going on over the last few days regarding arcade conversions. So have a load of this one. Anyway, thanks very much, and I will catch you next video. You keep yourselves retro, and I will catch you very, very soon. Bye for now.